stuck here. The cops won't bother me.
Well, guys, I have the two bikes here. It's actually the best of both worlds. I really enjoy having a bike from 1985. That's something that I've never had, such an old bike, but the more I ride this, the more I like it. I'm not really into the cruiser style, but when you ride this bike from 1985 and you realize that the quality of these bikes are really high, even compared to today's standards, there's something extremely good about this particular bike. And a lot of people have been asking me to like make a bobber or a chopper or whatever out of this, or a cafe racer. And there are good reasons for that because I do like the idea of keeping a bike stock. And this bike actually looks pretty badass stock. And even like without the gas tank and stuff, it looks really cool. But I like how easy it is to remove all these parts for maintenance. I like the shaft drive. I like that the headlight is glass and not plastic. It's got a lot of really interesting things. One thing that's strange is that this front brake line is just so long. I don't understand why it twists and spirals. This must be like a different brake line. It doesn't make a lot of sense here. So you can see it just kind of twists around way too much. So I guess I would get something shorter, or I don't know. Is that normal? But the bike is coming along really nicely. And I have been seeing some stuff. If I was to make this bike a little bit different, one of the things I would do is I would get like a LED brake light and with some integrated blinkers. I think I'd definitely remove this thing. Even now, I kind of like the idea of removing this because I don't like that kind of like thing in the back. But that thing in the back is great for keeping a book bag while you go on rides. Also, another really interesting thing that I've seen people do is just put like one seat, like a one-seater, but I think for me, because I have like the rear seat over here, what I'd really like to do, if it's possible, to take the existing seat and cut it in a way. So remove all of this up here, because I don't know, it's just kind of kind of weird looking. So if I cut this here, cut the plastic, and then wrap the leather around it, I think it will look better. I don't like that hump going up. And then I would remove this. The cool thing about it, a bike from 1985, unlike the 2010 Ninja 250, in DC you don't have to register a bike or you don't have to get it inspected. So you can remove the blinkers and anything. But in Maryland, you really just need blinkers on for inspection, and you can remove them legally and even have no mirrors. But right now, I'm kind of waiting on parts. I ordered the fork seal, and it was like $20. So the part itself for the fork seals is cheap. The maintenance is difficult. I mean, you're going to have to raise the bottom up and then slide this out. And I know how to do that. And I mean, it's a cool looking bike. And I think what I like more is not so much the look of it, but the idea of riding this from here. It just looks really cool. The two symmetrical speed dials, it's very like well designed up here. Now, when it comes to engineering, I think they're a little bit failing when it comes to the way they made things. I think I went over this before. First, the main fuse is here, and I put an inline one because that's a much better system than the other one. The other one was like an antiquated like thing that broke off, and that was the reason why it wouldn't start. But that's one reason the previous owner didn't realize it, because they keep fuses everywhere. A fuse here, and then you have fuses here. You have to remove two screws to remove this and then check the fuses. And then you have the ignition and fan fuse inside of this headlight housing. So you have three separate sections where the fuses are. And I don't like that. I prefer having the fuses all in one section, because that's what you do when you're like looking over the bike, you're just looking for one particular section, and normally the fuses would be right about here. Of course, they don't have space because in these Honda Shadows, it's interesting. They have a very small tank up here, right? That one. And then that tank feeds this one. And this is, I believe, where the majority of the fuel goes, which is kind of an odd design. But I think they could have somehow put all the fuses here. Maybe in 1985, that's not what they did. But I guess in 1985, you needed to have some good skills for working on bikes because bikes were a little bit more temperamental. And I can see that with this one, but I think it's because it's just old. The problems I'm having with this bike are not because it's unreliable. It's because it's an older bike and all of these like hoses, rubber things are wearing out. That's the reason the fork seals are also out. But I think the fork seals busted after the storage outside for such a long time. These bikes don't make a lot of sense to buy unless they're fully running. That's what I'm finding because they are very time consuming and expensive to work on because the parts for them are expensive. So I'm already up to about $200 on this bike. So I got it for free, but it's becoming much more expensive than this one because all the parts for it are just so much more expensive and you can't get parts from 1985. So you're going to have to get used parts from 1985 if you want to make it completely stock. But as you guys see, I was able to get a fuel pump that works and bypass the relay. By the way, I have the relay coming and I have the fork seals coming. And for the brake lines, I think I'm just going to get rid of this small hose here and just put like a steel braided line. I think it'll be good. I think the reason they made it like this with steel is because it gets very warm here near the engine. But I think with the steel braided brake lines, I don't think there's going to be an issue. Well, that's the status of this bike, guys, and I'm going to keep working on it. Oh, by the way, it would be awesome to have a LED light, but I was thinking, why get an LED light? Because this is a glass headlight, and it's so much better than a lot of them. And in a way, there's something really cool about keeping a bike completely stock. So that's what I'm at right now. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.